Hello. So today I'll be reading this book to you. This is also my first ASMR video, so I don't have a mic. I'm just using my phone quality, so hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. Hopefully you can even hear like the tapping and stuff like that. So this is The Rough Face Girl. It's a Cinderella retelling, a Native American Cinderella retelling, and this is the rough face girl. With her charred hands and covering her face because she's embarrassed. Okay. Written by Ralph Martin, illustrated by David Sannon. Okay. Once, long ago, there was a village by the shores of Lake Ontario. And this is the village with the wigwams, all the different wigwams, and the fires blowing smoke up into the air, and the people and their animals, and they were hunting in the forest and the woods. They have boats along the shore of the lake. You can see all the forest and the water. They just have their little village by the water. Off from the other wigwams of this village stood one great, huge wigwam. Painted on its sides were pictures of the sun, moon, stars, plants, trees, and animals. And inside this wigwam there was said to live a very great, rich, powerful, and supposedly handsome, invisible being. However, no one could see him except his sister, who lived there too. Many women wanted to marry this invisible being, but his sister said, only the one who can see him can marry him. And this is the great big wigwam with the trees in the background. And you can see how big it is because this is the sister, and look how tiny she is compared to the big wigwam. And like they said, there's animals, there are the deer running, and the bear, or hog maybe, and the human hand, because we're an animal too, and the raven, and the eagle, and maybe a beaver, with the trees, and the sun, and the moon, and the stars, all on the great big wigwam. Now, in this village, there lived a poor man who had 3 daughters. The 2 oldest daughters, I'm just gonna adjust. The 2 oldest daughters were cruel and hard-hearted. They made their younger sister sit by the fire and feed the flames. When the burning branches popped and sparks fell on her, in time her hands became burnt and scarred. Her arms too became rough and scarred. Even her face was marked by fire, and her beautiful long black hair hung ragged and charred. And those 2 older sisters laughed at her, saying, "Ha! You're ugly, you rough-faced girl." And they made her life very lonely and miserable indeed. And this is the image. You have the fires blowing upwards, and the poor, lonely, rough-faced girl sits by the fire to feed it, while her cruel and vain sisters mock her as it keeps their whole family warm, and burns her skin and her hair and her face, and she's too embarrassed to be seen. One day, the 2 older sisters went to their father and said, "Father, give us some necklaces, give us some new buckskin dresses, give us some pretty beaded moccasins. We're going to marry the invisible being." So their father gave them these things. Dressed in their finest, the 2 girls marched through the village, All the people pointed and stared. "Look, those beautiful girls," they said. "Surely they shall marry the invisible being." And if those two girls were proud and hard-hearted before, they were even prouder now. They walked haughtily through the village. At last they came to the wigwam of the invisible being, and there his sister waited. And here are the two sisters. They think they're so beautiful. I mean, they are, but their hearts aren't beautiful. And they have their new moccasin shoes, and their beaded dresses with shells, and their beautifully dyed fabric. And they are so proud of themselves, and everybody in town thinks they're so beautiful. Everybody's gawking at them. Their beautiful long hair, and their beautiful red and black shawl, and the beautiful turquoise dress with cells in it, and necklaces and bracelets. They really do look beautiful. Only their hearts were too. Now this is the sister, remember. The sister said, "Why have you come here?" she asked. "We want to marry the invisible being," they answered. "That's why we've come here." "You want to marry my brother," she replied. "You have to have seen him. Tell me, have you seen the invisible being?" "Of course we've seen him," they insisted. "Can't you see how pretty we are? Can't you see the beautiful clothes we wear? Oh yes, anyone can tell that we've truly seen the invisible being." "All right," she said quietly. "If you think you've seen him, then tell me, what's his boa made of?" And suddenly her voice was swift as lightning and strong as thunder. And this is the older sister of the invisible being. She looks mean and hard, but she's just trying to defend her brother. And that's the big wigwam in the back. The big, big, big wigwam in the back. And she stands in front of it to protect her brother, the invisible being. "His bow?" they stammered in surprise. His bow. We know. But turning desperately to one another, they whispered, "What shall we say? Let's say it's the oak tree." So they said, "It's the great oak tree." "No," said the sister of the invisible being. "No." Oh, she saw at once that they have lied. "Tell me," she continued, "if you think you've seen my brother, the invisible being, then what's the runner of his sled made of?" "Oh, we know," cried the two sisters. But whispering feverishly again, they wondered, "What shall we say? What shall we say?" "Let's say it's the green willow branch." "No," said the sister when she heard. "No, you have not seen my brother. Now go home." "Just test us fairly," they exclaimed. "We've seen him. Just don't ask us these silly questions." And here are the two sisters, as they connive on how to lie to be able to marry the invisible being, with their beautiful feathers and their jewelry and their new buckskin dresses. "All right," said the sister of the invisible being. "Come with me." And she took them back to the great wigwam and sat them in the seats furthest from the entrance, the guest seats. Soon they heard footsteps coming along the path, and something stopped inside. Though they heard nothing, nor there they heard breathing, the two sisters couldn't see a thing. Suddenly a great bow and a beaded quiver of arrows appeared in the skies and were set down. But though these two girls sat there, their eyes wide, all through the night they never saw a thing more. And in the morning they had to go home ashamed. So here's the The bow, the big bow. And his case for his arrows. And look how tiny they are. So confused and frightened because they hadn't seen him. Next page. The next day, the rough-faced girl went to her father and said, "Father, may I please have some beads? May I please have a new buckskin dress and some pretty moccasins? I am going to marry the invisible being, for wherever I look, I see his face." But her father sighed. "Daughter," he said, "I am sorry. I have no beads left for you, only these small broken cells. I have no buckskin dress, and for moccasins all I have left are my old, worn, cracked, and stretched out pair from last year, and they're much too big." But she said, "Whatever you can spare, I can use." So he gave her these things. So this is this rough-faced girl and her kind but poor father who has nothing left to give her, and the broken seashells and old moccasins that he has, as he will take gracefully, like her sisters. Sorry, went too far ahead. Then she found dried reeds, and taken the little broken cells, she strung a necklace. She stripped birch bark from the dead trees, and made a cap, a dress, and leggings. Then, sorry, there's a bug, there's a mosquito. Then, with a sharp piece of bone, she carved in the bark pictures of the sun, moon, stars, plants, trees, and animals, like the big wigwam. She went down to the lake shore and soaked the moccasins in water until they grew soft. Then she molded them to her feet, but they were still too big, and they flapped like duck's feet as she walked. Then all the people came out of their wigwams. They pointed and stared. "Look at that ugly girl," they laughed. "Look at her strange clothes. Hey, hey, hey. Go home, you ugly girl. You'll never marry the invisible being." But the rough-faced girl had faith in herself, and she had courage. She didn't turn back. She just kept walking right through the village. Here she is, with courage, and her clothes aren't as beautiful or as well done as her sisters, but her beauty is in her heart, and she has a bark tree crown and dress with the sun and the moon and the stars and the trees and the animals all carved into them, and her moccasins that are too big and make a flap, flap, flap sound as everyone laughs at her out of their moccasins, out of their wigwams, I mean. This is one of my favorite images. As she walked on, she saw the great beauty of the earth and skies spreading before her. And truly, she alone, of all the village, saw in these things the sweet yet awesome face of the invisible being. And look at this photo, isn't it beautiful? And there she is, walking alone in the beauty of the forest with the rocks and the trees and the sky and the big clouds. And in the face you can see the sky, you can see the face of the invisible man. And the birds on the top of the tree make his eyes. And the end of the rainbow is his nose. And his lips are the clouds and the mountains. Isn't that beautiful? At last, she came to the lake shore just as the sun was sinking behind the hills, and the many stars came glittering out like a fiery veil in the darkening sky overhead. And there, standing by the water's edge, was the sister of the invisible being, waiting. Now, the sister of the invisible being was a wise woman. When she looked at you, she didn't see just your face or your hair or clothes, no. When she looked at you, she would look you right in the eyes, and she could see all the way down to your heart. She could tell if you had a good, kind heart, or a cold, hard, and cruel one. And when she looked at the rough-faced girl, she saw at once that though her skin was scarred, her hair burnt, her clothes strange, she had a beautiful, kind heart. So she welcomed her dearly, saying, "Ah, my sister, why have you come?" And the rough-faced girl replied, "I have come to marry the invisible being." And this is the sister who before had a mean face, but now is kind with open arms, welcoming the rough-faced girl. As the sunset behind her and the water slowly coming in, she welcomes the rough-faced girl kindly with open arms. You can see the stars in the sky and the sunset and the sand. Such beautiful art. "Ah," said the sister very gently now, "if you want to marry him, you have to have seen him. Tell me, have you seen my brother, the invisible being?" And the rough-faced girl said yes. "All right, then," said the sister. "If you have seen him, tell me, what's his bow made of?" And the rough-faced girl said, "His bow? Why, it is the great curve of the rainbow." And this is the invisible being that no one else can see. The strong jaw and the rainbow, the curve of his bow, the clouds and the body and the mountains. "Ah," exclaimed the sister in excitement. "Tell me," she said, "if you have seen my brother, the invisible being, what's the runner of his sled made of?" And the rough-faced girl looked up into the night sky and said, "The runner of his sled? Why, it is the spirit road, the Milky Way of stars that spread across the sky." And then here he is. And the sled, the bottom of his sled are all the constellations. And he stands in the sky, racing across it, above all the trees. "Ah," cried the sister in wonder and delight, "you have seen him. Come with me." And taking the rough-faced girl by the hand, she led her back to the great wigwam and sat her in the seat next to the entrance, the wife seat. Then they heard footsteps coming along the path, closer and closer. The entrance flap of the wigwam lifted up, and in stepped the invisible being. And when he saw her sitting there, he said, "At last, we have been found out." Then, smiling kindly, he added, "And oh, my sister, but she is beautiful." And his sister said yes. And this is the invisible being standing before this rough-faced girl. And he looks so happy. The sister of the invisible being then gave the rough-faced girl the finest buckskin robes and a necklace of perfect shells. "Now bathe in the lake," she said, "and dress in these." So the rough-faced girl bathed in the waters of the lake, and suddenly all the scars vanished from her body. Her skin grew smooth again, and her beautiful black hair grew in long and glossy as a raven's wing. Now anyone could see that she was indeed beautiful, but the invisible being and his sister had seen that from the start. And here she is in all her beauty. After she bathed in the water, the healing water, with the lily pads. Her long black hair is restored. Her beautiful skin is restored. And the beauty that was inside her is now on the outside. And at last, the rough-faced girl and the invisible being were married. They lived together in great gladness and were never parted. And this is the last page of the book. And it's just them together in their boat. With the sun and the stars. And they look so happy. And this is the back of the book. I hope you guys enjoyed this book as much as I did when I was a kid. I always really loved it, so I hope you guys loved it too. And I'm sorry if there was a lot of noises. I don't really know how to edit, so that's just gonna be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this though.